It is Friday evening, the end of a massive week. I have just finished building something that I'm really quite proud of. This is the culmination of everything I've learned over the last 5 years about getting onto sales roles, everything I've learned about getting onto remote info service business sales roles in particular. I'm calling it the Salar operating system, and this is, as far as I know, the most comprehensive resource anywhere online covering every aspect of the process of getting yourself onto a good sales role. And this comes from my own experience. This comes from talking to hundreds of people at this point about what is holding them back from getting onto sales roles. What it all boils down to at the end of the day is everybody going for these roles, everybody trying to get into sales, for the most part, the majority of people, say that they're good at sales. They say that they're committed. They say that they're going to do everything it takes to get onto the role. But when it comes to managing how they actually go about doing that and how they approach it, they don't treat it like the sales process that they're going to end up doing on the role, or like they say that they can do well. They treat it like they're just applying to jobs, like corporate jobs, corporate 9-to-5 roles. That doesn't work in this market for the most part because it is a much less mature market. We're working for much smaller, leaner companies, and in general, the culture is just different. It's changed. And it's different because the businesses are smaller, some of the reasons I just described. The thing is, as a salesperson, right, as a sales contractor, you're acting as just that. You're not an employee anymore. You're not trying to be an employee of some company. You're trying to work on a commission-heavy or usually commission-only basis as a contractor, and the services that you're selling to that company are sales. So you should be treating this entire process like you're running a sales process. Yes, there'll be some inbounds. Yes, there'll be some hot leads or some warm leads at least. You're also going to have to do a load of outreach, and you're going to have to keep track of everything that's going on. You're going to have to treat this whole thing like a sales process. You're trying to sell your services as a salesperson. Imagine any other type of internet business you could be running, small business you could be running. Let's say a marketing company, for example. You could be running a small social media marketing agency. That's one of the first businesses I set up back in the day. If you were doing that, you wouldn't just search around for some people who'd advertised they wanted someone to do their marketing, send out a few applications, maybe never follow up or follow up to a couple of them, and then conclude, I guess I just don't have enough experience to run a marketing agency. I mean, if you could try that, but it clearly wouldn't work. You wouldn't get any clients. And I don't think many people would expect that to work. What you would have to do in that instance is go and knock on hundreds of doors, so to speak. Send a load of emails, send a load of outreach, find a channel that works, find messaging that works, find the positioning that works with a certain ICP, and double down on that and keep going and accept that rejection is part of the process, but make it so that you send so much volume and stratified volume and high quality volume that you can then iterate back on the process and figure out what works, figure out your acquisition channel, your go-to-market strategy. People don't treat trying to get onto a sales role like this, which is the problem. That's why they can't get onto roles. That's why people send a few applications, conclude that, everyone just told me I didn't have enough experience. I guess I don't have enough experience. What am I going to do? And then they just give up. That's the problem. The thing is, if you were good at sales, if you did actually have the sales acumen that you say you do, that's not the point at which you give up. Because in any sales process, everybody knows who's actually doing this. It takes a huge amount of resilience to being told no, to having doors slammed in your face. But how can we speed that process up? We can speed that process up by having a proven sales system that works. Proven strategies to make the most amount of return possible for the amount of input that you put in. And that is what I've built. I have shown everything I know about identifying good roles, presenting yourself to those roles, and the exact system that I use and that my clients have been using to follow through with all of that to make sure that you're maximizing the amount of effort that you're putting in. But at the end of the day, it's a sales process. Managing this like a sales process is what gets results. And if anything isn't working, doing it in a stratified way, as I've been doing, as my clients have been doing, as I suggest everyone does, means that you can then go back on the process and figure out exactly what's not working rather than just having absolute chaos and never knowing what's there. But yeah, it's been a lot of work. We've got a stack of notes here. We've got the whole thing built out now. It's nicely organized, written modules for each section. We go really far in depth. Right now we're sitting at about 6 hours plus of video content in there. All of the written modules together amount to about 118 pages. It's fairly comprehensive. Everything's in there for a reason. Everything's earned its place in there. It all comes from my experiences, from the experiences of my clients, from the experiences of people that I've spoken to about trying to get into the space. Founders, business owners as well, the people making these hires or the people bringing people in to help them sell stuff. Yeah, it's all been built out. It's been an absolute labor, but I am so chuffed with what we built in there. It's going to iterate. It's going to change over time. It's going to change as we start getting feedback, but strong system for those that will actually follow it, for those that actually have the capacity to back up what they say they can do, right? Everyone says they're great at sales. They're probably the best closer you've ever met. And yet they don't want to send messages and be told no by a lot of business owners when they're reaching out to sales roles. But there we go. That's, in my opinion, the best thing about a sales role, or about going for a sales role, is that everyone says, oh, you need experience. In reality, you need to show the business owner that you can do what you say you can do. That's all it's about. And the beauty of going for sales roles is the whole application process, the whole process you take to go about doing that becomes a demonstration of your ability to do the role. It's very well saying you've got good experience, right? You just shoot someone a CV and it shows you've got great experience. Fantastic. You've told them you've got good experience. You just send that and never follow up again. What does that actually prove? Show people what you can do. Don't just tell people what you can do, and that will take you far. The benefit to you is that if you're somebody with limited experience trying to go for one of these roles, the door is open for you if you actually have a system of sales. If you actually treat it like a sales system, you can show a business owner that you're going to be good on the sales team. So everyone loves to say they're dedicated. I'm going to be the hardest working setter on your team. They'll send that in one message, maybe follow up once, hey bro, hey G, and then never follow up again. My inbox is full of messages like this from an account with no profile picture, presentation's terrible, the effort wasn't there. They'll talk a big game, they'll say how much money they've closed or set up in the past, but not follow it through with any action. And that's a mistake in my opinion. But there we go. I'm rambling at this point. That is the Saylor operating system. The entire process from A to Z, no stone unturned. Every section of this has earned its place. It's structured, it's easy to follow. It is the system that I've been using for the last 5 years to always have access to roles to say yes or no to. And it comes from quite a simple philosophy, which is treating the process of getting onto a role like a sales process. And that's it. If you want to check it out, drop me an email. Everything's in the description that you need. And let's talk about it.